Kay here with the History Rats. Happy Wednesday. Welcome back. Glad to see you. If you're new, welcome. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And you've joined us on a very good day. Today, we are having a story time with the History Rats. Are you excited? I'm excited. I love story time. And today, we're talking about a pirate tale that is very close to my heart. Today's story is The Red House of Lafitte. And it is one that I have personally been researching for years. I know everybody thinks that we just started doing the pirate thing because we were doing the boat thing, but actually, we do the pirate thing because we think it's cool, it's interesting, it makes us think. That's just what we're into. And if that's what you're into, today's going to be a good day. So, we're going to talk about pirates, we're going to talk about buried treasure, and we're going to talk about history. So, let's get into it. Today's story is about Jean Lafitte. And if you don't know who Jean Lafitte is, that's okay. By the end of today, you'll know a little bit more about him. But he is possibly the most famous pirate to have ever called Galveston his home. Lafitte came to call Galveston home sometime in the early 1800s. The historical marker outside of the Maison Rouge has it listed as 1817 was when the original structure was built. There are reports that Jean Lafitte actually helped with the Battle of New Orleans in the War of 1812, which historically speaking actually happened in 1814. In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the mighty Mississippi. We took a little bacon and we took a little beans and we caught the bloody British in a town called New Orleans. Fired our guns and the British kept coming. Was not as many as there was a while ago. Fired once more and they began running down the Mississippi to the Gulf of Mexico. So, one of the people fighting the bloody British, no offense to any Britannia people, it's just the words of the song. So, one of the people fighting the British during the War of 1812 in the Battle of New Orleans was Jean Lafitte. He was part of the naval hoorah. Sometime after that, because if you look it up, it says 1812. But again, he was in the war, the Battle of New Orleans, which was 1814. And the historical marker says that the original structure was built in 1817. So we'll just say the early 1800s. He moved here because the United States government forced him and his buccaneers to flee Barataria Bay. I might be saying that wrong. Who knows? Leave me a comment if I said it right or I said it wrong. Lafitte made his home on the eastern end of Galveston, which back then was known as Isla de San Luis, and was the eastern point that the Spanish called Point de Culebras, or Snake Point. At this location, he founded a small village that he named Campeche. Now, from some of the stuff I read, the village was already there, and he just built it up. But with history, it depends on who's telling the story, I guess, sometimes. And I like to keep, if I get contradicting facts, I like to tell you, well, these facts contradict each other. The house that he built, he actually built away from the colony, away from Campeche. And this house was a rather luxurious fort, basically. From what I read, there was like a bullseye on one of the walls, like kind of like a big to the man. And it was several rooms. It was a large house. The rumor is that it was the first substantial residence built on Galveston Island. Now, whether that's true or not, don't quote me, son. I ain't said yeah. But the house that he built, it was built out of black coral, and it was called the Maison Rouge, which in French, Maison Rouge means red house. Some say that this was like a scare tactic. Pirates and privateers and buccaneers, all three, were known for scare tactics and trying to get their opponents to give in without fighting because they were scared. So this makes sense. But a lot of people think it was a scare tactic because he painted the house red with the blood of his enemies, but the house was built out of black coral. In 1821, the government, once again, drove Lafitte out of his territory, pushed him out. He had a habit of pirating because he was a pirate and a privateer and a buccaneer. Now, and before you ask, okay, a pirate pirated, right? A privateer pirated, but with papers, like they had permission. Technically, Lafitte was a privateer because at one point he was a French pirate. He came from France. They don't know when he was born or really when he died exactly, but they know that he was French because he had papers with the French royalty. Once he and his brother Pierre moved to New Orleans, where Pierre had a blacksmith shop. You may know it as the Blacksmith Bar or Lafitte's Blacksmith Bar. I don't really know what it's called. The one time I went to New Orleans, I was a little flabbergasted, and I spaced out on the whole pirate part because I was kind of sad that my poppy told me that we couldn't go to the cemetery because I wanted to go see Marie Laveau's tomb. But I went with my grandmama and my aunt and my two cousins, and he said that because we were girls, we couldn't go. So I wasn't allowed to go. So I was kind of bummed out, and I didn't think of other cool stuff we could have done, should have done. But anyway, so the blacksmith was actually a front to sell the pirated goods, the silks from the Spanish galleons and the spices and all that stuff. It was a front. It was a money washing scheme, basically. And that's what they got ran out of New Orleans for when Lafitte ended up in Galveston in 1817. So in 1821, guess what he got ran out of Galveston Island for? Pirating. But before he left, he took his pirate ship and he loaded up all of his treasures and all of his possessions, and he burned everything to the ground. Everything. The whole colony, his house, everything. Burned it to the ground. And he got on a ship and he sailed off into the history books. Now, sadly, this does mean that the foundations, the ones that you can see in our video from last week, Pirate Urbex, if you haven't seen that, please feel free to go back and watch it. I'll probably just go to the playlist. I don't know how to do that, but you can figure it out. Pirate Urbex. So, the foundations that you can see aren't actually from the Maison Rouge because Lafitte burned everything to the ground before he left. Now, the foundation that you see is actually the foundation of the 12 Gables, which was a home that was built later on in 1870 by Captain Captain Hendricks in 1870. But it was built over top of the cellar and the foundation that was left behind of the Maison Rouge. So the foundation that you see isn't actually the Maison Rouge, but it's from 1870, so it's still historic. And there are rumors that the main staircase is actually from the Maison Rouge. I don't have evidence to back this up or say that that's not true, so your guess is as good as mine. But still historic. So, and you'll also notice in the video, Pirate Urbex, there is a fence around the main structure that is there. This fence is also historic. It was put up in the 1960s, so it's 50 or 60 years old, and this fence was put up because of treasure hunters. Why would treasure hunters be a problem at the Maison Rouge, the former home of the notorious pirate and privateer Jean Lafitte? I'll tell you why. Because there are rumors that Jean Lafitte left buried treasure somewhere on Galveston Island or in one of the many rivers and lakes and creeks and streams, whatever, that are around Galveston Bay. Now, I do have a problem with this because as far as I know, there is only record of one pirate in history ever actually burying treasure, and that was Captain Kidd. And now Captain Kidd is a fascinating story, but that is another story for another story time. Today we're talking about Jean Lafitte, who, as of record, I have never heard of him saying anything about burying treasure, and it doesn't really make sense to me why, if I'm burning a place to the ground and I'm leaving and never coming back, I'm not leaving my treasure buried here. But people say that he has treasure buried, and because there is a rumor of buried treasure, there are treasure hunters. And it is not unheard of for treasure hunters to be found digging up the yard around the foundations, because although the foundation that you see is from the 12 Gables, the cellars and the well and the armory, which some of which you can see like outlined in the video, are from the Maison Rouge. So people have been known to go and dig up, or try to dig up, Lafitte's buried treasure. So in the 1960s, there was a fence put up. Now with that being said, that fence was put up for treasure hunters, to keep out treasure hunters and those people who would want to come and destroy the history. Not for historians who just want to experience the history. Okay, I'd like to be very clear that while we may have went into a place that we weren't really supposed to, we didn't touch anything. Well, okay, I touched the wall because it's history and I was walking around, because we took only pictures and left only footprints, because that's the rules. That's what you do. And it was freaking awesome. My feet were on the soil where Jean Lafitte once roamed. I mean, how freaking cool is that? Okay, so anyway, sorry. Back to the story. There are stories of hauntings, hellhounds, and weird noises, and ghostly figures. And there's actually quite a bit of reading I've done about that subject. And if you would like to hear about that, be sure you hit that thumbs up button. Because if we get to, let's start low, let's say 10 likes on this video, I will do a VIP, Virtually Investigating Phenomenon, video about we'll do a spoopy story time. Yeah, so hit that thumbs up button. 10 thumbs up, we'll do it. Anyway, so there you go. Story time with the History Rats, the Red House of Lafitte. If you liked the video, be sure to hit that thumbs up button. Give it a good punch right in the face. Punch it in the face. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Follow us on Facebook, Dark History with the History Rats. Check us out on Instagram under History Rats. Or get some of our brand new merch. I'll leave the description to our bonfire account in the description below. So, and if you haven't already watched our other videos, go watch them. There's a whole playlist of nothing but story time with the History Rats. Or you can do the playlist with all of our videos, all of our content. We'll see you next Wednesday at 9 a.m. when our content drops. Be good to each other. Take only photos. Leave only footprints. See you next week. Wow. That is crazy. But it wasn't actually red. It was black coral, right? That is so cool. Notorious pirate settled here in 1817. Holy cow. Oh, so this was built in 1870. That's still so cool. Look at the brickwork.
There's a cellar.
There's what?
There's a cellar and shit underneath it.
That is so freaking cool. Hey, I'm a pirate at a pirate house.
No quarter.
No quarter. We're not going in. Oh, wow. What is that?
It's part of the whole ground center.
Oh my god.
There's a well right there.
Right there.